Hello, I'm Ed Fuquay, Young Adult Librarian Extraordinaire here at Woonsocket Harris Public Library.
And I'm Miss Gabby from the Children's Department.
And we're here to talk about summer reading. You excited about summer reading?
Mixed feelings. Yeah.
Well, they have some good books in their selection.
They do. This year's books are very good.
They've been doing a better job of that lately,
Yeah,
I've noticed.
definitely.
There's a lot of great stuff out there. Summer is officially here, and that means it's summer reading season. Now, our library, like every library in the state, has a good selection of summer reading books. Even if the library's doors are not open to the public, you can order them through the internet and come by the library and pick them up. I think most libraries are doing pickup. You can go online to the website of your local library, and with your library card and your PIN number, you can put a book on hold and have it delivered.
Yes.
So, that's great. So that can get you the physical books. But there are other ways you get summer reading books that some people might not know about. And that's to do it all electronically.
This era.
Yeah. Well, ebooks are a thing now, and libraries have been trying to cater to the needs of our public. And so ebooks have become a very important part of what we do here. They're a little more complicated when you get into them, but once you get started on them, ebooks are as easy as like anything else.
Right,
To get the ebooks, you have to download them. Now, you go to the website of your local library. In our case, Woonsocket Harris Public Library, and there should be a button there that says search the catalog. And that'll bring you to Ocean State Libraries. Now, that is a web page that lets you search the holdings of every public library in the entire state of Rhode Island. So, somewhere on that page, sort of down to the lower right, there'll be something called E-Zone Digital Downloads. So you click on that to go to the E-Zone, which is where you get your ebooks from.
Yes.
Now, to actually read them, you have to have a app on your device called Overdrive. You can, when you get it, you press the help button and it tells you how to get to the Overdrive device to download that to almost anything. They've got it for Kindle now, they've got it for Mac, they've got it for Apple devices.
And that's crazy. It's everywhere.
Yeah, they should have one that works on your device, at least something that you own. And once you get the app on your device and you go to the website and pick the book that you want and click on it, it should magically appear on your app. The important thing to remember is even though these are ebooks, they're electronic books, they only exist as like bits and bytes somewhere in the vast web of the internet. Libraries, for legal purposes, have to treat them exactly like real books. In other words, when we get the rights to have an ebook on our imaginary shelf that we give to you to read, only one person can look at it at a time. If someone is already reading that book, then you can't download it.
I think they changed it so that there's 2 copies now. Is that?
There's 2 copies of a lot of things now.
Yes.
And maybe there's 2 copies of everything. But we're constantly trying to get the best deal we can from the publishers. Because the publishers need to make their money, the writers need to make their money. So we purchased the rights to hand these out to people.
Yeah.
And not everything is available as an ebook, but a lot of things are. In fact, many of the things on the summer reading list from Woonsocket, which I have right here, most of them are available as ebooks. So you can download them and read them at your leisure. Even if you can't get to the library or it's difficult to get to the library, you can always have it on whatever device that you use for reading books. But beyond that, there's also still other ways to enjoy your summer reading books, or at least get through them. They have audiobooks of many things.
Yeah.
Our library has a good physical collection of audiobooks, which are on CD. But if you're so high-tech, you actually have to have digital. The E-Zone has tons of audiobooks. They have an amazing selection. Getting an audiobook, you can check it out just like you would check out an e-book. And it's downloaded to your device and you can play it whenever you want to listen to it. However, just like it was a physical book, it has to be one that no one else is listening to at that time. And you only get it for a limited amount of time, and then it'll shut off your access to it. So you can't just keep it forever and ever. You have to actually listen to it after you download it. Audiobooks are really amazing quality. They're extremely convenient. You can listen to them while you're doing chores, washing dishes and things like that.
Driving.
Yeah, driving. I listen to an audiobook virtually every day as I drive back and forth to work. I have a long drive, and I've gotten through so many books that way.
Yeah.
It's really amazing how time seems to fly. It fills up your time, and you can go through tons of books. The quality of audiobooks is extraordinary. I've never really heard an audiobook that I thought was really badly done. There's high production values, amazing narrators. Have you heard any audiobooks?
I have. I heard the Star Wars one, and I've heard the Harry Potter one.
Yes.
Yeah.
I brought out some samples of the physical ones we have here in the library. These are the ones on CD, but you can also get them through the eZone as digital copies. The Harry Potter ones are done by a guy named Jim Dale. He won awards for these because they're really fantastic. He does all the voices of the huge numbers of characters in the Harry Potter saga and does them all surprisingly well. Jim Dale's a very talented actor. He's been on Broadway for a long time, won a couple of Tonys, and now he's doing mostly audiobooks, and it's just some amazing work. A lot of audiobooks have some like very special like bells and whistles and things like that that you can listen to. I mentioned the Star Wars ones before because I really like those. I mentioned them when I was talking about the Star Wars section.
Star Wars ones are crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it feels like you're in like their universe.
Exactly. It's just like watching a movie that doesn't exist except for the sound. They have the sound effects, they have music cues, they have everything. For Shadows of the Empire, they actually wrote a new soundtrack for it with original music. So one happens to be Darth Plagueis. But there's a lot of Star Wars stuff available. The audiobooks are highly recommended. They're extremely well done. It's the closest we'll get to seeing some of these things as actual movies. So a lot of the great characters and things like that. My other favorite is Golden Compass by Pullman. Are you familiar with this one?
No, I'm not.
It's a really great story. It's been filmed once in a rather mediocre film, and then I believe HBO did a series based on it. It's a fantastic story, and this is the audiobook that really sold me on audiobooks as being the way to go. It's an incredible story. This is one of those ones that has, like an old radio play, it has an actor for every character. There's not just one guy doing all the voices. As talented as these voice actors are, they actually have like a young girl doing Lyra's voice in this.
Is it common for one person to usually do all the voices?
Usually.
Okay.
It's usually common, like Jim Dale or Mark Thompson for the Star Wars books, but you can also do it as a production like this. Now, in the days before television, radio was really huge. And so people would tune in every afternoon to hear radio shows. The radio show would have music and special effects and bring all these actors into the studio and so forth. And that whole audio drama is a real art form all by itself, telling an entire story with no pictures. And however, radio drama, for the most part, faded away when television became popular. It's still floating around out there. There's still audio productions being done, but it's not nearly as popular as it once was. A lot of people are trying to keep it alive, though, as a lost art form. The Golden Compass ones, all the ones done by Philip Pullman, are very good, extremely well done. They come highly recommended. I've also got some stuff in the library here that I have physical copies of that I know are not in the eZone, because they're really hard to find. I have some audiobooks here from a company called Graphic Audio. Graphic Audio had this crazy idea of doing comic books on audio.
How did that end up playing out?
It actually works really well. They have a talented bunch of actors, and they do all the dialogue for the comic, and they have a narrator describing the action.
Wow.
So it's like a radio play. It's a narrated story. They actually have a 13-year-old Muslim girl doing Kamala Khan's voice for Ms. Marvel, and you can't get much cooler than that. The graphic audio stuff is extremely well done. For a while they had the rights to Marvel and DC. They're putting out some good stuff. They're hard to come across. The physical copies in our library are probably the only ones in the state, I'm guessing.
Really?
Yeah, they have full special effects. They have music tracks, fantastic actors, very, very good way to immerse yourself in the storyline. My favorite one from Graphic Audio, though, is actually Batman No Man's Land.
Okay.
No Man's Land was a Batman story that stretched out over for like 3 years of several different comic books. It was a long, complicated story. It feels like 6 volumes of graphic novels right now if I want to go back and read the entire story. But fortunately, Greg Rucka, who's a talented writer outside of comic books, adapted the entire thing into a novel.
Wow.
So you condensed several years worth of Batman stories into a really strong novel. And they took this novel, and this is the audio version of it. But as with most of the productions, they wrote their own music and special effects and had people doing different voices and so forth. Now, No Man's Land, for those who are not familiar with it, it was the one that inspired the Batman Arkham City computer game. In this one, a series of natural disasters has caused Gotham City to be evacuated.
Okay.
And 90% of the population has left. And the ones that remain behind are mostly escapees from Arkham Asylum. And there's still like a lot of people who are either trapped in the city or refuse to leave for various reasons. And every supervillain is carving up the city, making his own territory and waging war against all the other supervillains. Jim Gordon refuses to leave, so he stays behind with a handful of cops to defend the city with almost no resources. Batman originally isn't in Gotham when this happens. Gotham is like sealed off from the rest of the country. And Bruce Wayne is in Washington, D.C. trying to get senators to stop this from happening.
Yeah.
A failed attempt to save the city that he loves. So by the time he comes back, situation is out of hand. During this time period in Batman, you have Dick Grayson as Nightwing, you have Barbara Gordon as Oracle, the wheelchair-bound crusader for justice. In this storyline, the Huntress appears.
The Huntress.
Yep. And this one, she actually tries to be Batgirl and fails. She makes a failed attempt at becoming the new Batgirl.
Oh.
Yeah. Huntress has a troubled history.
Yeah, why would she try to become Batgirl?
Well, at that time, Batman isn't in the city, and she felt they needed a symbol to rally around. So if she becomes a Batgirl, she can get people like on her side. It doesn't work as well as she hoped.
No.
Lena Bertinelli always means well, but most things don't work out for her in the long run. She winds up being stripped of the Batgirl outfit. However, a new Batgirl arrives. This is the origin story of Cassandra Cain.
Okay.
Familiar with her?
Yes.
She is an awesome character. She is a mute young woman who was raised by one of the world's greatest assassins. She was never taught to speak because he wanted to teach her only how to kill, and he didn't want her to waste any of her brain power on things like talking or reading or writing.
Yeah.
She's also completely illiterate. He raised her to be a complete killing machine with no conscience, but he failed. She has a conscience, and she escapes from him and plunges into the complete chaos and desperation of no man's land in Gotham, where she, of course, hooks up with Barbara Gordon, who equips her to be the new Batgirl, sending her out on the streets against the toughest villains in Gotham. This is also the storyline that introduced Harley Quinn to Batman's comic book universe. So you see Harley Quinn's origin story going on at the same time, including the first confrontation between Barbara Gordon and the Joker since he shot her and paralyzed her. It's really strong stuff, and the actors make a fantastic job of it. So these come highly recommended. You have to check them out, though, physically, because they don't exist on the eZone. But lots of really great stuff does exist.
Yes.
You just have to download the Overdrive app to whatever device that you have and get access to the things through the internet, and you can check them out. Does that sound cool to you?
No, it sounds awesome to me, actually.
It's a fantastic resource.
Knowing that I can just do it on my phone other than actually
Yeah.
having to pick up a book, because,
Yeah.
I don't know, picking up a book is so inconvenient.
I know. You're a child of the 21st century here.
And I shouldn't be saying that because I work in a library.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, it's so much more convenient knowing that you can either like listen to it or like have it on a phone and you can start reading whenever you want. So.
It is convenient. There's no denying that.
Yeah.
Libraries want to be a part of that revolution, but for a long time, giving libraries access to ebooks was very difficult. Legally, publishers, they wanted to put out ebooks so they can make money off them, but didn't want to give them access to a library.
Yeah.
If you have a physical book in a library, it can be checked out 50, 100 times in one book. And so they didn't want their ebooks to basically sit on our imaginary electronic shelf forever,
Yeah.
constantly being checked out by people. So they electronically made it difficult for it to use, more difficult than it possibly should be.
Yeah.
So that was a decision the publishers made, but fortunately libraries do have access to it and at a reasonable price. So many of the summer reading books and a lot more cool books are available, both as ebooks and as audiobooks that you can download right to your device. It's very convenient, and many of them are available in audio also.
Yes.
The audio is extremely useful, like I said. You can listen to it while you're doing almost anything.
Yeah. It's like giving you like a mini movie in your head, kind of.
Yes.
Yeah.
Many people lamented when the old audio dramas disappeared because they really sparked people's imagination. Schools do consider listening to the audiobook version reading the book.
Yeah.
I think every school has agreed that that works just as well. It doesn't sharpen your reading skills per se, not your physical reading skills, but just hearing the book read by a narrator. Storytelling is so popular in our society.
Yeah.
And so it's like sitting down with someone who literally reads the book to you.
Especially with like complicated books like the Odyssey. I had
Yeah.
to do with the Odyssey before.
Yeah, I've gone back and re-listened to parts of the Odyssey
Yeah.
because it's that difficult.
So
Um,
confusing.
One of the physical copies that we have, and I think it's available as an audiobook too, is I have the Odyssey read by Ian McClellan, who played Gandalf in Lord of the Rings movies.
Yeah.
He has a great voice for that.
Very soothing.
Yes, there's also an audiobook read by Claire Danes, who's also a very talented actress. So the same thing is available, different versions, through your e-zone on the internet. Any closing comments?
Reading is fun. No matter what anyone does say, reading genuinely is fun, and I think it's something that teenagers like myself should do more. So
Yeah, reading is so much better than, say, movies in a lot of ways.
yeah, because when you read or even listen to an audiobook, you picture it in your head other than seeing it in the screen. So you can, I guess, make up your own parts that are
Yeah.
missing, I guess. So like in that sense, you're like the director. So
Well, the good thing about it is, if you have an image in your head, like, I actually saw the first Harry Potter film before I read the first book.
Mhm.
I was very late coming to Harry Potter; it had already been on the shelf for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But once I started reading the book, I saw the actors in my head,
yes,
which is very useful.
and it's fun comparing it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, my wife can't even watch the later Harry Potter movies because they deviate so much from the book.
Yeah.
Because the later Harry Potter books are like 800 pages, and they couldn't film nearly that much, so they started chopping stuff out of it. A lot of the stuff they chopped out, many people, including my wife, think were very, very important to the overall feel of it. There's some things in the final story that just don't make sense because of other things they cut out of previous books.
Mhm.
But if you get the audiobook version, you'll have the complete story read to you by some really talented actors. So, all right, that is it for today. That has been Book Talking. Today is mostly electronic book talking.
Yes.
I'll be back next week with another exciting topic. Until then, I have been Ed.
And I'm Miss Gabby.
We'll see you next time. Be safe.